Hello, today is the 19th of September 2024. Okay, this is going to be another more intense story because it just felt like a more intense experience, even though it wasn't as bad as my last video, my last experience. So on Tuesday, Amy and I were at work again in the school, and we know from our timetable from the classes that we have on Tuesday that Tuesday is just the most exhausting day. But basically we were supposed to do some exams with two of the classes. We have three classes each day, and they're 1.5 hours each. And basically with two of the three classes we were supposed to do some exams. And basically we had a few questions because we weren't really sure how to do exams with them and what to do and what we needed and blah blah blah. We just had a few questions in our mind, and I had them written down on my phone in notes to ask our boss Linda. And basically we went into the school, and Linda always immediately started talking to us, and what she always says is, "I need to explain you everything." And immediately she just started talking and asking us questions about more work and more hours, and that Amy and I get split up and each have a class for a day during the week or something. So yeah, and then she goes on this whole rant about everything that she talks about. And this, I'm not trying to be rude or to judge, but it really just is like that. Anyone who knows her knows that and says that. And she really just talks so much about one thing, and she doesn't really go straight to the point. She talks so much around it, and there's just so much information that also isn't very important for us to know, but she still talks about it and explains it not necessarily in detail, but just explains a lot about it. It's just sometimes, or a lot of the time, very, very exhausting listening to her, because really every time we go into work she starts immediately talking to us about certain things that we do next week, in a month, in 10 years time. It feels like she talks about so many various things that we did yesterday, things we're supposed to do today, then the exam papers, the worksheets, the different classes, the different students, the different teachers, the different hours, and then is there more work, online classes, blah blah blah, so many things all at once. And she doesn't get straight to the point about the things. It's when she starts talking about something and then, for example, uses a word that reminds her of something else, she talks about that topic then. And then another word that she says reminds her of another topic, and she goes to that topic. So she swaps and changes so often about the things that she talks about. And also she often then gets up out of her chair and says, "Oh, follow me, I need to show you this." And then everyone has to, me, Amy, and the other teacher, we all have to get up and follow her into this room. And then I asked myself, was that really necessary? Because oftentimes she just shows us one single sheet of paper, or she shows us a folder that wasn't very necessary or wasn't really so important for what she talked about. And it's just, and I don't want to sound really rude and mean, but it's just very, very exhausting listening to her, and it's very hard to understand her because she talks all around the point but doesn't get straight to the point, and we have to try to put it all together to really understand what she means. And it's so hard because she talks about so many different things. She gets distracted and walks up and does this and talks about something else and talks about that and blah blah blah. And then the way I try to help myself was then to ask her questions, so to reflect. So I say, for example, "Oh, so you want us to do this with that class, blah blah blah," and I can basically sum up and ask a question of everything that she said in 2 or 3 sentences. And basically what was even more exhausting on Tuesday was that I had these questions, and I thought for myself they were important so that I could understand what we have to do at the classes. So I really wanted them to be answered, and before the classes start, we always have like half an hour in the school where we can like prepare classes, or we talk to Linda or the other teacher and we discuss what we do that day. But the thing is, with Linda, we don't just discuss what we do that day. She talks about so many different things that is so not relevant for that day and for that moment, and is just very, very exhausting. And I'll come to why it's so exhausting as well later on, but basically I wanted to ask her then, because we only had like 5 minutes left before the class started, so I wanted to ask her the main question. Like, are we supposed to correct the tests? Are we supposed to go through them with the class, or are we supposed to just collect them and put them aside? Like, what are we supposed to do with the tests at the end when they're done? And basically, she immediately got up and said, oh, follow me. And then she went to the folder where all the tests were inside and showed us all the tests for today, and we could pick one out of all of that entire pile, and then the rest is for the next week, and we have to write down who did it and what day and what test was done. And she went through the whole folder and talked about certain sheets, and oh, there's an audio one, there's a listening one, here's a writing one, and blah blah blah. And then she just talked about that, and then the class started and my question wasn't answered. What am I supposed to do with the test at the end? Are we supposed to correct them? Are we supposed to give them back? Are we supposed to go through it together with the class? What are we supposed to do with the tests? That was important for us to know, because they were doing the tests in those classes. So we had to know, what do we do with them at the end? But she didn't answer the question. So at the end of that half an hour of her like non-stop talking and me getting like one question in and that not even being answered, me and Amy just looked at each other and were completely like exhausted and drained and so like confused, and like we were like through and through, we were like, oh my god. So basically I had to try and pull all the information from what she said, break it down to the most simple way that I could, and try to connect all the dots to explain to myself in my own mind what I'm supposed to do with the class now. So I had to kind of figure it out all by myself. And I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I kind of had an idea, but I didn't know if that was right. I didn't know if that was actually okay. And not that I just didn't know exactly what that was all about, but it's also like I was trying to constantly find out if it was all so important what she said to us, and if I needed to remember all of that for this class, because a lot of it seemed completely irrelevant for this class. So I was like, wait, is it really important though, or can I like filter that out and forget it? But because I don't know that, I try to keep all the information in my mind and I get way too overwhelmed. For the first class then, Amy and I were, what's it called, like not just confused, but like our whole energy was shook, and like our mind was rattling, and our emotions, and we felt so drained, and we weren't balanced at all, we weren't rooted at all anymore, because that is her energy, that's Linda's energy, not ours. But I literally ask questions so that I can get a clear mind, and so I know what to do. But she just talks more and more, and then I have more and more questions, and then I ask one question and she doesn't even answer, and she doesn't get straight to the point. She talks for like 10 minutes about one thing that I can describe in like 2 or 3 sentences, literally. So it was so much. And basically in the first class then, girl, I had to take a breath, and I was just looking at Amy and I'm like, what the hell was that? Like, what am I supposed to do now? I tried to remember what she told us the day before about the tests, which we had already kind of planned at home. So I put on my computer, I put in the USB stick, and I wanted to find the test for the class. And then we went through that big fat folder that Linda had given us with all the tests for like the entire year inside, and we had to like look through it and find the test that we had to do today. And then we handed out the sheets, they wrote their names at the top, the students, and then I noticed, shoot, it's the wrong test. We collect it back up, I look through the folder again, hand out the next test, and then try to find the audio, and they do the test. I have no idea if I'm supposed to explain it, go through it with them, what I'm supposed to do, so I just say, here's the test. And I'm going to put on the audio. Is everyone okay? They say yes. I put on the audio. They do the test. We collect it at the end and leave it on our desk, and I have no idea what we're supposed to do then. Basically, when the students came into the class at first, I forgot the way to teach. Like, I was so... like everything was so jumbled up in my mind, and I was so perplexed and so blank and so not grounded that I literally had no idea what I'm supposed to teach them and how I'm supposed to teach them, because they always have these worksheets. Linda has worksheets prepared for them, so Amy and I go through that with them and explain it to them and like teach them what's on the worksheets. But they came into the class and all I could say was hello, and then I couldn't say more because my mind was so full. We just handed out the worksheets. Literally that was it, and they just started the worksheets by themselves, and I didn't know what else to do and say. I just immediately went to my computer to try and find the right test and to go through the folder and try and find the right sheet. Yeah, like the thing is, Amy was also there, of course, and she kind of took over the class more when I had to try and find the test. But at the same time, Amy isn't that confident, so she doesn't take things on herself and like just does it and teaches it. But either I have to tell her like what to do. Sometimes I feel like I'm too bossy because I know Amy doesn't like to be told what to do, but she often just stands there or just hands out the sheet and doesn't explain anything. So I have to like tell her, yeah, you have to explain it to them because they like need to learn it. They like, of course, like in some schools or sometimes you just hand out the worksheets and they just do it. But with this school, like they need to really understand it. They need to be at least explained what happens. And then Amy's just like, oh, but they know what to do. And I'm like, maybe they do, but they still need to be explained like what to do and what that means, because they don't understand what that means. And I looked at the sheets and what they had written down and it was wrong. So that's why it's still like, we're teachers, we're supposed to tell them what to do and stuff. So that was kind of more exhausting for me as well, even though it was only a tiny part. But it's kind of like I had to like tell her what to do and tell the students what to do and figure out where the test is, like as if I had to do everything. So in that moment I couldn't, so that's why I was just like, Amy, please take over the class. And I just had to trust that like she's gonna do it her way, and I just have to be fine with that, because I can't take over everything. But once I like explained to her like, no, they have to understand it, like we're supposed to explain it to them, then she does do it. But sometimes it's just exhausting when she doesn't do it herself, but I always have to remind her or tell her. It's just because she's not confident enough. Like she's able to do it, like she's able, yeah, she teaches in a different way than I would and stuff, but she's still like able to do it, but she just doesn't do it by herself, like without me having to tell her. Yeah, basically that was that. And then they had also a writing test, and we handed them out the sheets, because first they had the listening, then they had the writing test, and those sheets were also wrong. But then we were like, no, we're just gonna let them do this because it's the test they already did last year. But we were like, no, we're just gonna let them do this, like it's fine if they revise. We asked the students like, do you want to do this test again and stuff, and they said yes. So we were just like, oh, it's just too much, we're just gonna let them do this now. Then we had the smallest group, and they didn't have any tests. And basically I asked Amy to take over that group a bit more as well, because usually I'm like the main person explaining it to them and stuff. Yeah, that's what I kind of found a bit unfair in the past 2 weeks, because like Amy and I are splitting the money evenly, so but I was like clearly doing more, so that's why I have to kind of sometimes just like let Amy do it instead of feeling like, oh, she's not doing it by herself, so I need to go and do it. But no, just tell her, okay, you take over, and then just let her do it. If I think it's better or worse, or something's missing or something's wrong, it's her way of teaching, and that's okay, and I just have to try and accept that and deal with that. But basically she did take over the smaller ones then a bit more, and during that I then tried to find the tests and organise everything for the next class, for the oldest ones. When I had that done and I thought, okay, now I had everything organised, I then sat down with the small ones, but honestly I felt so drained that I could barely like smile at them, I could barely laugh with them, I could barely explain to them what they have to do, because with the small ones like I have to explain it over and over and over again and really go through everything with them. And so I could like barely do that. It was really like, I was really trying to like build up, like pull out my energy and build it up, and like, yeah, I had to really try and explain it to them. It wasn't like, oh, I just naturally do it because this is what I do. It was like, I have to really try. But yeah, I definitely wasn't the teacher that I was the past 2 weeks on Tuesday. During that class, I kind of needed a small break as well. I felt like, oh, I just want to go home and cry. Like, God, how are we supposed to do the next class? I was like, girl, that's the class I have a lot of anxiety for anyway. Like, the most anxiety, like not necessarily a lot, but yeah, sometimes a lot. And that's the class I'm most anxious about, even though like the past 2 weeks when we had them, it was fine, but it's just my OCD thoughts, like the uncomfortable feeling thoughts, like the memories of that kind of, yeah. And then with that class, and then also not knowing if the work we have prepared now is the right work and stuff, it was just, oh God. So I went to the bathroom, and when I was there, it was just so silent, and I just listened to the silence, and then I just thought about like all the problems I have at the moment. I'm like, I'm kind of struggling at the moment, and some days are really, really hard. And then I realized though that I don't have the problems, I have the solutions. Problems are always created and born from the outside, but solutions are found within me. So whenever I have a problem, there's like a reason from the outside why I have this problem. But when I find a solution, it's always from within me. It's always from within me. I find the solution, and I basically break down and dissolve the problem from within me when I find the solutions. They can't be found anywhere out there. They're always in me. And so that's why I actually don't have problems. I have the solutions. And let's just say, even if I do have problems, I still have all the solutions, because whenever there's a problem, there's a solution. And whenever I find a solution to the problem, it's always from within me. So yeah, that kind of really helped me to gain some more energy. It like brought stillness into my mind and body, and I felt more rooted and more grounded. And I went back into the class, and there's this one boy who's just so lovely and so smart, and he's so cute and innocent. He actually made me cry in that class. Like, he made me tear up, because he was so innocent and so sweet, and I just love him. And I was like, this is what life is worth living for. Like, this is what life is about, these moments. Yeah. And then the next class came. They came in, and I also asked Amy if she could try to take over this class more, because in the past 2 weeks, like, she barely did really anything in that class, because they are like only a bit younger than us, so we both are anxious. But I was okay with that the past few weeks, because I also want to become more confident in those classes. That's why I'm okay if I like have more responsibility or do more, because then I can tell myself, see, you did it, see, it's okay, you can manage it, you're able to do it. But I still need to know that if I do have a day where I feel like I can and I just can't, that I can at least rely on my sister to take over the class. And the past 2 weeks I couldn't rely on her, because I even asked her just to say something small in front of the class, and she like shook her head and didn't want to do it. But I had asked her that day before work even if she could try like step by step doing more, because that's just more fair as well, and she'll get more confident, and whenever I have a down day, that I can at least rely on her. And yeah, in this class she did say more, and I'm very grateful for her and for doing that and for being so confident, and she was totally fine, she did it. Yeah, and honestly, it wasn't just because my anxiety and stuff that I wanted Amy to take over the class, but I felt like I didn't have enough energy to like teach them. I felt so drained. I felt like I just need to go home, and I had like such strong thoughts, like I don't know if I can do this anymore, like I don't want to do this job anymore if it's like this. Like, if Linda like keeps talking to us about so many things and keeps like asking us so many questions and to do more work, and then sends us these text messages even outside of work that we should listen to this and read this and watch this and blah blah blah, and also asks us, or like kind of expects from us to like kind of work whenever she wants. So even though she asks like, oh, can you please come 5 minutes early today, or can you please be here by then and then, or like tomorrow the student can only start the class then and then, so can you do that? Instead of like actually going to us and like saying, is that a problem for you? Like, is that okay if we do it like that? She isn't really asking like, or looking at how we feel and what we think. It's more like, oh, can you please do that? Like, can you please come 5 minutes early? And she kind of expects that from us. Anyway, that class was a bit more organized because I had the tests already all organized beforehand. So that was fine, but also the class, they were so silent while doing the test, and I thought that they maybe didn't understand certain parts, and they said that the listening test was quite hard when like I asked them. But again, I had those questions for Linda, if we're like supposed to go through with them together, what we're supposed to do with the test. So, because she didn't answer any of those questions, Amy and I just did what we know from school, and it's that during a test, no one's allowed to speak. Like, even the teachers were not allowed to help, we're not allowed to explain anything on the test. So that's what we did, and then we just corrected them ourselves, and didn't hand them out again, because we didn't know if they're allowed to see their results, or if they don't want to have their results back. Like, we didn't know what to do, so we just did what we knew from our school. Yeah, but anyway, it was okay in the end, and Linda apparently talked to the students as well, and they apparently said that they didn't really understand the writing, reading and listening test, that they didn't really understand it. And then Linda like apologized to us because she didn't really explain to us like well enough what we were supposed to do. she explained then that we can read through it beforehand and they should ask questions if they don't understand anything, and then everyone should be silent while listening to the test or while like reading it, but then at the end we can go through it again together and stuff. So then she explained it to us, and which was fine, and we're going to do that from now on. But yeah, I was glad that she apologized and noticed like that she didn't explain it to us, like she didn't. And I knew like me and Amy were going to stay on longer at work because I still had these questions and they were still important to know what we're supposed to do with the tests and with the students and what work we're supposed to do and so on. So I knew like we still had to go to Linda and ask her questions, and I really didn't want to because I felt so drained already, and I knew she was going to talk for a long time about like one single question that I have. Basically, she did talk for really long again, almost every time she talks, but especially that time because I was already so drained. I could hear and listen to like maybe 2 or 3 minutes of what she said at the start. But then my mind went bye-bye, and I could hear what she said, but I couldn't process it in my mind. I couldn't understand it. I couldn't put it together. It was like I heard words and I heard a voice, but it only reached my ear and it didn't go further. Like it didn't actually go into my mind. I didn't really understand it. And also like Amy, like we both often don't understand what she means because again, she doesn't go straight to the point. She doesn't explain the point. She explains everything around it. So also I think the other teacher, even though she already knows Linda for a year and has been working there for a year, she often looks very confused as well. So I think she doesn't really get what Linda wants often as well. But anyway, I basically was looking at Linda the whole time and like nodding and saying yes and agreeing, and I didn't really know what I was agreeing to, and I just looked at her, but I was completely somewhere else. I was like looking at her, but in my mind I was like just like crying the whole time. I was completely drained. I was like literally falling asleep in my mind, and I felt like I just needed to cry the whole time, and I literally wanted to run away, like literally. When she kept talking and I couldn't even like hear what she said anymore, I just couldn't get it into my mind because my mind was already so full. I really like had the vision in my head that I just run away. I just wanted to escape that situation. I just didn't want to be there anymore. I didn't want this. I needed to go, and I was like, this is just too much. But the thing is, because I always think, oh, maybe that's important, or like I have to remember all of that, I try to be there and I really try to focus so much, but that just drains me more and more, and I'm unable to focus because my mind is already so full. Like I literally can't take anymore. My mind is full to the brim because of everything she already said to us. And I was still trying to process all of that. I was still trying to put the pieces together and to literally process it so that I have a category for it and that I understand it. But then she said more that I had to process more, and it only went like to my ear and didn't go further. And while I was processing all the old stuff, new stuff came, and once I had processed a little bit of the old stuff, there was new stuff that needed to be processed, and it was all so much and way too much. And I was like just asking myself, is this really important for her to tell us this? Is this like she's talking about the next weeks and for the coming year what we're supposed to do, and it's like, can't you just go day by day? Like, don't you understand that it's way too much information? Like, how are we ever even a superhuman? How is anyone ever supposed to remember all of that information? And me, because I'm hard on myself, I'm like, I need to remember all of this. It's important so I don't make mistakes, so I know that what to do, so that like I don't have to keep asking her what to do, or like, and I'm like, I want to understand all of that, and I want to be able to handle this, and I want to be able to do it and to process it. But I looked at her and it was as if I wasn't looking at her. It was as if I was looking at something completely blank, because I didn't actually like see anything anymore. Like nothing went into my brain anymore. It was like I didn't hear anything. I didn't see, smell, like think, taste or touch, feel anything anymore. It was like all blank. Amy and I left finally then, and it was already dark outside, and I had never really fully like properly driven in the dark. Basically our classes end at 8 and it takes like 15 minutes to drive home, and we were home at like 8:45 or something. So Linda had talked to us for like half an hour past our paid time and stuff, and yes, I had questions, and yes, she did answer them, but again, she didn't just answer them, she also explained everything around the answer. Honestly, I didn't need to know that. I didn't need to know that, and I didn't want to know any of that. If I wanted to, I would have asked. And yes, of course, some things are important for us to know because we are teachers at her school and we need to know, but other things she's explaining to us, like what she's organizing at the moment and stuff, and I'm like, we don't need to know that. Like, she can organize it and then she can give it to us and say, oh, this is for this class, but don't tell us every single thing that she's organizing. And okay, I'm really sorry, I'm being very harsh as well, it seems, but like, that's just the way it felt for me. Like, it was just so much. I couldn't take it anymore. And at the way home, I was like so depressed. I was like, I don't want to do this job anymore. I don't want to go back there tomorrow. I don't want to do this. I can't do it when it's like this. I want to enjoy it. I want to have a good experience. I want to love it. I want to be able to do it, but not when it's like this. I don't want that. I can't take that. And it's too much. So I honestly and seriously asked myself, do I really want to continue this job? And I was like, I honestly do not know if I want to continue this job. And that's why I still haven't signed the contract that she gave me like a year ago. It's still at home in my cupboard because I'm still unsure. Once I sign it, like, I have to work there until end of December. But for me, I need to know that when moments like these happen, that I'm allowed to escape. And I need to let myself escape. I need to have that freedom and that free space. That's why I'm so scared to sign the contract. That's why I haven't done it yet, because I'm not ready. I'm still unsure. Even though I'm sure that I want to do this job and I want to teach them and I want to have a good time. I want to be able to do it. But not when it's like this, not when it's like Tuesday was. So all the way home, I was very depressed, very much like, I can't do this, I just can't do it anymore. I just wanted to run away from myself and everything that was in my mind. I just wanted to go to a place where there was nothing anymore, where there was no sounds, no pictures, absolute blankness, and just me, and nothing I had to do, nowhere I had to be. It was just so much. And I asked Amy, like, do you always understand everything that she says? And Amy says, no, but like a lot of it just isn't so important either, so I just blend it out. And I'm like, yeah, I wish I could do that too, but I'm like, how do you know it's not important? Like, maybe tomorrow we need to know everything that she told us the day before. And then Amy's like, Leona, even if it's not so important, even if it is not that important, that we have to like do this to ourselves, basically, that we have to try and remember every single thing. Yeah, for me, I just explained to Amy how for me it's just a struggle. Like, it's really hard for me to just let go and just say, oh, it's all okay, it's not that important, I can just let go of all of that. Like, I'm not really able to do that. When she says it to me, like when Linda says things to me, I try to remember all of that. I try to process it all in my mind. But because it's so much and it's more and more and more that always comes on top of it, it like feels impossible to process it. And I can't let it go because I'm like, oh, what if I need to know that though? What if that's important? What if this is important so we know what to organize in the classes? And the thing is, I want to like know what she's saying, and I want to know what to do so that I am organized and I feel safe, so that I feel like, okay, I know what we have to do in the classes. That's the main reason why I can't just let go and like blend out what she said, because I feel like I need to know that so that I feel organized and I feel secure that like, okay, my classes are organized, I'm ready to do it, I know what to do. Yeah, and I know that a lot of things she says is not important for me to know, but I'm like, what if it is, like in a week's time? What if it is like then and then? Like, and yes, of course I can ask her again, but that's not the point again. The point is I'm trying to process it all in my mind, but it just won't work. It's like it's just stuck there and it's getting more and more, and I can't process it, and I can't process it, and I don't understand it, and I feel like I can't take it anymore, and I just want to run away. Like, I don't want it to be that way. I don't want to feel like I need to run away. Yeah, so Amy went for a shower when we arrived home, and I just sat on the couch. I just sat there in silence, and I tried to process everything that just happened the whole day, and I completely like just teared up, tilted my head back, and cried so hard because I was like, I just can't, like, what is going on? What was all of that? Like, what is happening to me? Like, why can't I handle this? Why does it feel like so much? Why? And then I was like, I'm so glad like I'm starting the Thrive program because they'll help me with exactly this, but I'm like, I don't want it to just be a chance that like, oh, maybe they'll help me, and I also want them to help me right away. Like, I want to immediately figure this out. I want to immediately solve this. I don't want to wait another 2 or 3 weeks. I don't want to be like, oh yeah, maybe by then you'll have it figured out. I want it to immediately help me because I want to figure it out. I want to be able to do this job. Because I enjoy teaching the kids. I like it, and if we have freedom in the classroom and we're allowed to do what we want with the kids and like teach them in the way that we want, then that's absolutely fabulous, and I love that. And then I also thought about how my friend Mario offered me a position in his school for a couple of hours on a Thursday. And I thought about that, and I was like, oh my god, there's no way I can do that, but he's relying on me. Like, how can I like tell him that I don't think I can do it, but I want to be able to do it. I want to do it, and I don't want to disappoint him, and I feel like he's relying on me, but I feel like I can't. I feel like I'm drowning. I feel like I can't even do this job, so how am I supposed to do more? Like, I don't know what to do, and like his school starts in like 2 weeks, and he asked me already like a week or 2 ago if I was interested in that job, and yeah, like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, yeah, I'm open for it if they're like flexible with me going to Ireland sometimes as well and stuff. And they were totally, like, him and his sister, they were in the school, they were totally flexible about that and so on. So I feel like they're relying on me and they're already counting on me that I'm gonna be there, but I never did say like fully, yes I will, like yes I am starting this job, yes I will be there. I never said it like that, but I also didn't say, oh, I don't know, maybe not. Like, I never said something like no either. I was like trying to be open for it because some days I'm like, oh, that's so lovely, I can work with him and he's so calm, and so is his sister, they're so quiet, so I know it won't be like Linda and Linda's school. But also they don't have every class planned out for the teachers like Linda does, so I'm like, oh, I need to do more work then at home as well. I need to organize more classes. And also like at the weekends when we have our days off, I like think a lot about the job and a lot about school, because there's like a lot that we still have to do at home for the job. Like we have to look through all the worksheets, see how we can teach it, see what games we can play with the kids, then look at the tests that we do with the older classes, and blah blah blah. There's still a lot we have to do at home, and it's like there's always something that I have to do for the job. So that's why my mind never just fully relaxes and lets go, because I know there's always something else I still have to do for the job, something else I still have to do before the next day or whatever. So that's why I can never just fully relax, because we kind of take the job home as well to a certain extent, and that's just exhausting. And I think about that job maybe a lot as well because of my school time. When I went to school, all I ever thought about was school. And I think some of those memories are coming back. And then also what I explained to Mom, which was like the main reason why I completely cried, is that I said I can't like quieten my mind, and I can't like let go of just the thoughts and just relax and just enjoy, because basically what my mind is doing is constantly processing what Linda said. And even though I don't like hear clear sentences or have clear sentences in my mind, but it's basically, I just feel like my mind is so full. And it's basically because of everything Linda said. And so my mind is constantly processing it, trying to filter things out, trying to organize them, trying to put them into categories, trying to understand it, constantly doing that. But I never get to the end of the processing before Linda says more. And in half an hour, she talks nonstop. And so that's like a million different points of information. And so then I continue processing the old information, then I go on to the new one, and then she says more, and I continue processing that. And there's never an end to it, because she keeps talking more and more. And I never get to the end of processing, so my mind is never fully still. And when I wake up in the mornings, I think of like what we have to do for work right away. Like I immediately think of, oh, this is what we have to do for work, this is what we have to organize, blah blah blah. And then on my days off, when I'm trying to relax, when I'm watching a movie, I'm like, oh, we still need to do that before we go into work, or like we need to organize this for next week, or whatever. It's always like I keep remembering what we still have to do. I can never just relax. It's as if like the school is like my main priority at the moment, that the work, and I don't want it to be. That's supposed to be a small part of my life at the moment. It's not supposed to take over my whole life, and at the moment it really is. And yes, maybe that is because it's a new job and it's normal at the start, but I'm like, I don't think this is normal. Like, does everyone go through this at the start of a new job? My sister Amy isn't going through this. Like, it's like I take on all that responsibility, and I'm like, I have to know that. I'm the teacher. I need to remember all of that. Like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like trying to put it all on me, and I had a vision, like I said, where I was nowhere, no sounds, nothing to see. And then I just had another vision of my safe space. So I was cuddling Akela, and we were at the lake at our grandparents' property, and we were just so free. And I was like, I really miss that version of me. She was just so fine, and she was able to do all of it. I just miss her so much. Mom called me, and I spoke to her for like almost an hour, and at the start she didn't say a word because I was like talking the whole time, and she was really attentively listening to me, which I'm so grateful for. But I was basically explaining all of this and just crying the whole time, and I'm like, I'm not able to just let go. I want to just let go of the thoughts, just be free, but it feels like I can't. It feels like there's so much that I need to process. It feels like I can't process it because I don't really understand it. I don't really know what is important and what's not, and it's so much that I need to process, and it's like I'm still trying to understand what she told me like a week ago. Even though I don't have like proper sentences in my mind anymore, or I don't hear or remember fully what she said, but it's so much information that my mind just feels so full, and that's just what I'm trying to process the whole time. Even though like I do think I basically understand what we have to do. I do think I know the main things, but then I'm like, maybe there's other things that we need to know or have to do that I don't know of, or that I forgot, or that I didn't really properly hear when she told us that, because it's so much that she tells us, and then my ears just shut off. Like my mind just shuts off after 2 or 3 minutes of her talking. And Mom also said, like, whenever Mom met up with her or talked to her, that Mom noticed she isn't good at explaining herself. Like, Linda is not able to explain herself very well, and it's very confusing, and she says like so many things, like 90% of the things that she says is not important, or at least not important for us to remember right now. So Mom said a lot of things then at the end, which was so lovely. She said, I'm not letting this happen to you anymore. If this keeps happening to you and you keep falling apart like that, you are leaving, you are stopping that job, and you don't owe anyone anything. And she said that, Leona, it makes so much sense why you're falling apart. The things that you're telling me about your day, like, of course that's way too much. It's totally like understandable why you're like this. And Mom said like that if she were in my situation, she probably would be sitting there the exact same as I would, like completely like perplexed and like, what the hell is going on, like what is happening. And now that I'm kind of out of that situation, I can kind of much more clearly see the important information that Linda told us and the 90% of information that wasn't important, and I can like understand, I think, what we have to do now. But that's only because I'm kind of out of the situation now, and it's 2 days ago. But at the same time, like, that situation was very, very intense. In that moment, it just felt like I can't do it, and I don't want to do it. I don't want to live like this. I don't want to have a job like this if it's like this. The main advice that Mom gave me is to either like speak up and like tell her. And Mom said as well, if Leona, if you don't want to say something to Linda, if you don't want to explain it to her, then I can absolutely write her an email, and I will be forward. I'll still be nice, but I will be forward and tell her that she really has to cut down on all her talking and explaining, because it's just too much, and she should just get straight to the point and like answer her questions. Obviously that's not the way Mom would tell her, but that's basically the point that Mom wants to get across to her. I was like, yeah, I do want to be able to stand up for myself, though. I want to learn, and also like I'm 19, so I don't really want my parents to like email my boss, like who I'm like talking with and who isn't in contact with my parents. So it's a bit like, it would be a bit weird, but at the same time I know what Mom means. If I feel like I can't talk to Linda, but I really think it's important for her to know what's going on with me, that then Mom would step in. Mom just said like I should tell her to like slow down, or to please like stop talking. It's just so much, like it's just so much information. Can we please just stick with today? Like, what are we supposed to do today? Be honest and tell her that on Tuesday I came home and it was all so much information that I completely broke down, and that I honestly don't know if I want to continue this job if it's like that. if it keeps being too much information to handle and stuff, that I want to do this job, that I want to be able to do it, but that it's just too much information. It's just too much to deal with and to remember, that I don't know if I want to continue it if it's like that, if it keeps being like that. So and I did want to tell Linda that, and Mom said maybe tomorrow don't organize anything for your classes, don't do extra work at home, but go to school, go into the class, and for the first 10 minutes Amy can play a game with them, and then during that time you can look at the worksheets, you can go through them by yourself, or you can try and find the tests, because basically everything is organized and is there already, but Amy and I still always go through it at the start of the day before we go to work. We look through all the classes and what we have to do with them. I do that so that I know what I'm supposed to do, because I am completely terrified of not knowing what to do, and just not knowing in general terrifies me. So that's why but Mom said, Leona, do what is good for you. If doing schoolwork at home is too much, then don't do it. Or have one day maybe for an hour where you do everything, and before and after that you don't do it anymore until you're in work, and then quickly look over the things again. Maybe try and find a different way to organize the classes so that you don't have something to do for work every single day in your free time. And sometimes that might work, but other times it might not. And this week it didn't really work, because Linda only gave us some work for the next day. She only gave us work for Tuesday on Monday, so we had to look at it Tuesday morning before going to work. And she just keeps giving us more, and kind of expects that we just use our free time to look at it, and just expects that we have free time for that. Maybe we're busy and actually don't have any time to look through that. So, and I get it, in schools, yes, there's a lot of unpaid hours, I guess, where you have to organize your classes, look through things, blah blah blah. I understand that, but it shouldn't be taking over my life. That is not okay. No job should be doing that. And it shouldn't be so much work at home, because, and if it should be, if that's normal, then I don't want to do the job. That's way too much, taking away free time. And we're already being paid very little, because Amy and I are splitting the money, so we are not earning a lot of money. And that's why I don't want to do a lot of extra work either. But the point is, again, Linda expects, or seems to expect from us, to just do so much extra work at home. Because she just says, oh, can you please have a look at this? Instead of when you have time, don't worry about it if you don't, but if you have time, can you please look at this? Is that okay for you? Or is that too much? She doesn't really do that. She doesn't really keep an eye on us so well, let's say. She doesn't really check in on us very much. She tries to be fair for all the students. She tries to swap around all the classes to make it fair for every single student, but then kind of expects us teachers to be completely flexible and just work whenever she wants us to. And that's not okay. That's not acceptable. Yeah, I'm gonna get into more of that soon, but first, so talking to Mom really helped, and I was just really crying and in despair, and I was I don't know if I want this, and it's just so much, and I was I can't still my mind, I can't quieten it down, and I just want to, and it's just talking more and more and rattling, and it's so full, and I can't enjoy what I have anymore, and I just want to go back to Ireland and just lie in bed the whole time with Kayla and not do anything. Oh my God. And the advice Mom gave me was really nice, and she also said, Leona, even if she tells you important things, it's not that important to ruin your life and ruin your days. And if you feel like you can't listen to that, or it's only going this far and not going into your mind, then let it go. Then that's okay. You do not have to understand all of that. Don't take on that responsibility. It's not your responsibility. So whenever Linda talks to you, try and stay calm. Try to just be there, but you don't have to take in all of it. It's okay if you don't. Try to filter out everything and just listen to the things that are actually important, that you actually need to know for that day. I also texted with Mario about this, and he basically had the same advice as Mom as well, which was, very nice. But again, it's not that easy. I can't just do it and then all my problems are solved, because it's not that easy. It was a very hard situation on Tuesday, and it felt very hard and difficult to deal with. But when I went for a shower, and in the evening Amy and I watched a movie, and when I woke up the next morning, I just felt myself. I could feel my own inner body. I could feel my own presence, and I knew that I am the main priority, and nothing else matters as much as I do in my life and my mental health. And I have to be my main priority to be able to function, to be able to do this job and whatever. And basically that morning I was like, nothing else matters as much as my mental health and as my comfort and my well-being. So I was like, I'm gonna watch movies the whole day and just lie on the couch until we have to go to work, and I'm not gonna do a lot of work and stuff. And when I put myself first, then the work wasn't in the foreground the whole time, and I wasn't constantly thinking of what we still had to do before going to work. But I was my main priority. I took care of myself, and only then in between I was like, okay, I just need to quickly do this. And it was no stress though. It was like, even if I don't, whatever, everyone will survive. Yeah, I was my main priority, and then everything else just fell in behind. And that was really nice to be finally able to feel myself again and to notice myself and see how important I am compared to anything else in my life. If I don't function, if I am not well, then my life doesn't function. My life isn't well. So I am my life. I need to be okay in order for my life to be okay. But after my shower and just letting go of everything and just being like, fuck everything, and nothing is so important. I am important, nothing else is, just fuck it all. And after my shower, basically, I could kind of laugh again with Amy, and yeah, it was nice. And the next morning again was lovely, and I watched movies, comfort movies, and then we went into work, and I knew that day was going to be okay, because those classes, they're our favorite classes, and they're so relaxed and they're so lovely. So I wasn't really worried about work. What I was kind of like worried about or not looking forward to was Linda talking to us again. But she didn't talk to us at the start, because our classes immediately started when we arrived there. But basically for the first class then, it was older ones again. That's our eldest class. They're like 17. But they're really lovely. Like, I don't have anxiety with them, because it's just 4 girls and 1 boy, and the boy is even younger, like he's 14. So I have no worries about that class whatsoever, and they're very lovely. But basically they had exams too, and Linda had put all of the exams on my memory stick. So basically I put in the memory stick, I tried to find the exams, but I couldn't find it. So I had to go to Linda and basically ask her just quickly to show me where the exam is, and I really hoped she didn't talk more, but just simply showed me where it was. Yeah, her class like started at the same time, but her door wasn't closed yet, so thankfully I could just go in and ask her. And then she looked really annoyed. It was as if she rolled her eyes. And I know that every time someone like knocks at the door, rings the bell, calls her, texts her, she gets really annoyed whenever someone like disturbs her or asks her for something. And even though she did say to us we should always go to her when we have questions, it's like whenever we do, she looks so annoyed. So it's like she expects everyone to jump for her, to listen to her or go with her whenever she feels like talking. But then when we ask like one single question, she gets annoyed and rolls her eyes because it doesn't suit her. It's not the right timing. So I'm like, woman, maybe don't expect something of other people if you don't allow other people to expect that from you. So I was like, is she actually getting annoyed now? So anyway, she came with me then, and I basically just asked her, like, I can't find the test. And she was like, well, I gave it to you on the memory stick. And I was like, yeah, I know, but just come here, I can't find it. I already had like the memory stick open and blah blah blah, and there was what test 1 to 4, and in each test there was a couple parts, and then I didn't know which test it was and what part, because I couldn't see it on the sheet of paper. And she then showed me and said it's this, and that was all fine. And then she basically said, but the sound on the computer isn't like loud enough, you can use the speaker. And then I was like, yeah, we tried to use the speaker but it doesn't work, so we connected it to the TV and that worked. And then she kind of looked at me a bit weirdly as if maybe she didn't understand me or something, and I was like, we connected it to the TV and it worked. So I just said it more clear, and then she was like, oh great, I love you girls. So then she's like that again and leaves and is like, fine. But anyway, it was fine. And as you maybe heard, the way that I spoke, I was more forward and direct, and I didn't want her to talk for hours about it. And I was just like, we connected it to the TV and it worked, so just leave me alone, it worked. Obviously I didn't say that like this, but I did say like, yeah, we connected it to the TV and it worked. Just straight to the point, just leave me alone. So yeah, that was fine then. And as soon as the time hit 8 and our students were gone, Amy and I tried to like run out of the school and leave. So we walked out, and then Linda was outside, and she came over to us, and I was like, no. But anyway, she came over to us and just said like 2 things, which I was not okay with, and I spoke my mind. So first of all, she said, yeah, I might want to have a meeting with you girls so I can explain you everything. Once again, every single day she says that, explain you everything. First of all, I don't need to know everything. Second of all, I don't want to know everything. And third of all, no, we are not coming in on our free time again so that you can talk for hours about something that isn't so important without getting to the point and without actually explaining everything, but explaining everything else except for everything that we need to know. So no, that is not happening. So obviously I didn't say that to her. So I was like, yeah, I don't know, it was all a bit much, but I think we get it now. So, and then she was like, okay, and didn't talk more about the meeting. So I really hope that she doesn't want a meeting with us. And even if she does, I'm gonna say either no, or I'm gonna pick a time that like suits us. Or I'm gonna say, well, on Monday we're coming into work and you can talk to us then, but not on our free time. Like, that's not happening anymore, especially because it wasn't useful whenever we had a meeting anyway, because she still didn't explain to us everything, because she keeps talking about everything else except for what she's supposed to explain to us properly. So no. Anyway, no. Yeah, basically I spoke my mind. I wasn't unfriendly or anything, and I told her like it was all a bit much, but we understood it. I think we understand it now. And then the other thing was, she said like, yeah, so tomorrow for your online class, because we have 1 hour online class on Thursday, there's 2 students, and she said that the girl student that she is like at work, and after work she always takes a nap, so sometimes she like doesn't want to do the online class anymore, or she sleeps through it or whatever. So Linda was like, yeah, maybe the student wants to have like half an hour earlier or like later, maybe she wants it at a different time than the boy student. And then I was like, yeah, we'd prefer if the hour would just be 1, and during the time that like we have it on our calendar, on our timetable from 3:45 to 4:45, we prefer it to be together. And then she was like, yeah, I really prefer that too, and I really hope that it works out like that. And I was like, no hoping, it will be that way and no other way, because I'm not doing it like that. But anyway, that's again what I was trying to say. She just like expects us to be okay with it, and doesn't understand that we are humans, first of all, and also we have free time of our own, and we need that and we want that, and we can't always just do it the way she says it, and it's on our timetable during that time, so we're not going to just change around like that. Like, we are paid for that time, and that's it. Like, anyway, when she said, yeah, I hope so, I just need to talk to the student, like she might want it a bit earlier. And then I was like, yeah, but we have things planned during the day, which we do. We have a very busy day today. We have, even though it doesn't seem like I'm making a video, but I had time planned for this video, so this is part of our busy day. I was like, we have things planned for tomorrow. We have this hour free for work, but we don't have time before or after. So I was just saying that to her to also show her she can't just tell us what to do and to like boss us around and like just make everything okay for the students, but then expect us to work. Like, no, on our timetable it's at that hour, we're being paid for that hour, so Amy and I are leaving this hour free and are making sure that like we're gonna work that hour. But I don't want a split class, like half an hour earlier and then half an hour later in the day. No way is that happening. Then we can't plan anything and have to be ready then and then again, and can't do it at the same, can't do two students. No, that's not happening. So yeah, I spoke my mind like that again, and she kind of looked at me with like a blank expression. But again, I wasn't unfriendly. And then she was like, yeah, I need to talk to the student, and basically kind of left it at that. But again, if she's going to text us, which I'm sure she would text us at saying like, oh yeah, the student can do it from like whatever, 2 to 2:30. Could you do that? I'm sure like Linda wouldn't hold back, but would ask us again and would tell us, oh, the student can only do it from then to then. And I would then text back, no, I'm sorry, we have a busy day. We took the time free from 3:45 to 4:45, which is on our timetable. We can't do it beforehand, blah, blah, blah. I need to start standing up for myself. And that felt so much better, because it felt like she can't just boss us around, and I'm allowed to say my own mind. I'm allowed to say what's okay with me and what's not. And then she also knows that she can't boss us around. She knows that we are humans and we have like free time. Does she think we just work, like that's our only thing? Like, no, we have other things planned, other things we have to do. Like, hello? That was fine. We went home then, and yeah, we were in a okay enough mood. Like, my mind is still not perfect, my mind is still not fully letting go. Yesterday during the day, I was so much more relaxed. I was my main priority. I was really taking care of myself. And it was so lovely, because I noticed nothing else in life matters as much as I do. And if I feel okay and I take care of myself, everything else seems so easy. It seems like so secondary, like, yeah, I can do it, I'll be fine. So whenever you make something else more a priority than yourself, it's gonna drain you and it's gonna push you down, because basically it's in front of you, then it's above you, because you're making it the main priority. and then it's gonna drain you automatically because it's above you. But you are the one who is your life. You are the one who is doing the job, who's doing everything in your life. So you have to be your main priority. You have to be okay for anything else to be done and to be worked out. And when you are your main priority, you're taking care of yourself and you're okay and your well-being is fine, then everything else will automatically either fall away, fizzle away, be solved automatically, or it will all like seem secondary and seem like so easy to do. Or at least easier, as if you have more energy because you are the priority. And you know that if you don't feel okay, then you will forget about everything else and just take care of yourself and get yourself on your 2 feet again. Yeah, it's lovely to be able to speak with Mario about this as well. We have a lot of laughs. He's very funny in between, and he's just so lovely and an emotional guy as well, and really someone I wished to have in my life for so long, for so many years. And now I actually have someone like that in my life. It's just, oh my God. Yeah, dreams and wishes do come true if they're meant to and if you really want it. And the right person for you will come along. You just need to be patient, and I'm just my own proof for that. Yeah, the perfect person that you design can actually exist. Like, that's insane. And I'm obviously not saying he's perfect. Like, some things about him are not perfect. But the main things that I had basically listed in my mind for what I want my friend or my boyfriend to have, basically he has, or he is like that. And again, I'm not, it sounds so bad, I was like taking a box. Yeah, he can be friends with me because he's like this and he has to be like that or else he can't be friends with me. No, I'm just saying I had so many toxic people in my life and around me and whatever. And I always imagined this wonderful person who was just there for me and who was so lovely. And I wished for that person to be in my life for so long. And at some point I didn't think anyone like that existed. But now someone actually does. And it doesn't mean he's not allowed to make mistakes or he's not allowed to be mean, or it doesn't mean he's actually perfect. But I'm just saying a person that suits you and your life and who you want in your life can exist and is out there. So you just need to be patient and keep wishing and believing they are there, because they are. Thank you for watching. This is a very, very long video. Take care. I hope you could learn something and this could help you. It's not always easy, but like once you're out of those situations, you already automatically have a more clear mind, even though it still might not be perfect, but it's a bit more clear. And at some point you'll manage it, and always remember you are your main priority. You are your world. You are the person that you are in your world. You make yourself the main priority. Take care of yourself. Nothing else is as important as you are. It may seem like it, but then don't make it as important as you. And yeah, sometimes it's not easy. I couldn't do that on Tuesday myself. I was like, no, all that is so important, and like I need to figure all of that out, and I need to be able to live with the fact that maybe something is more important than I am. But take a breath and you will be fine. Okay? Take care and see you next time. Bye.